Welcome to Sessions with Sarah on Helium Radio. Today I'm here with Gabi Conti, and she's a comedian, author. She writes for Cosmopolitan. What don't you do?
Sports. No
Oh,
sports.
okay. All
yeah,
right.
which
Yeah.
I know that's your background, right? You were a sports host or no?
Actually, that and country music.
Got it. Yeah, I know
Yes.
nothing about sports. And a host. Yeah, I host for Hollywire for our YouTube channel. So I do 24/7 celebrity news for them.
I love that. I was watching some videos earlier today, and I'm like,
Oh,
that looks like a dream job. How did you start that?
it is. Yeah, no, I've been hosting. I mean, it's what I've done in college. I went to school in Boston, which is, I guess, another common, right? You're
Where
from
did you
Boston.
go?
I went to Emerson.
I was gonna say Emerson.
Yes. So I was
Awesome.
on the TV back then, on the local access cable for the Emerson channel, which I've
You
been hosting
were?
for, since my freshman year. Uh,
Ah.
and then just have been doing, hosting off and on. I had a 2-year run with the Elite Daily Show for Go 90,
Mhm.
where I did like over 400 episodes for them. And then Hollywire, I just knew the CEO of is a friend of mine and was like, "Hey, do you ever want to come in and host?" And I'm like, "Sure."
Why
Um,
not?
yeah, it's a little different because it's all like Gen Z stuff. So I'm now very well versed on all like TikTok relationships and whatnot.
Which is like a whole thing for me. Like, I don't understand it because I can't even like, I'm like, I'm just gonna put up a few videos to see how they do. And I get like 100 like watches, and I'm like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm really
Yeah,
cool.
that's good. 100 watches is pretty good.
I don't understand like how these, and to me, like I not to knock TikTok, but for me watching it, I'm like, I don't need to see sexy bitch dancing every 5 seconds for their millions of hits.
Well, yeah, and then that's the whole controversy of it too, is that a lot of the people who are dancing, they're not listening to the music that they're putting under it and the lyrics, and some lyrics are like sexually explicit
Right.
or sometimes, say the N-word in it, and these are
Yeah.
white like 15-year-old girls. So
And they
it
get,
comes the whole question of like how much should we be monitoring it? And TikTok recently, if you're under 16, your profile will automatically be set to private as a way to kind of help
oh,
child safety, which I think is
that's a good
smart.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like you say you're with the Gen Z, and then you did do a book called The 20 Guys You Should Date in Your 20s.
Yeah, 20 guys you date in your 20s, which is actually written from a millennial perspective, which I am. But I do realize
Mhm.
that, yes, if you're 20, you are a Gen Z.
Yes.
But I do think that the book and the relationship types, it's really more relationship types that I think are relatable to anyone, not just a straight girl.
Hmm.
It's really, I think they're timeless because, it's stuff like the guy who got away, the guy you always go back to. So they're more like relationship obstacles that people face.
That's my dog. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's
No.
okay. And it's like how you overcome them. And my stories of how like I hilariously failed with these types of guys and just like charts and quizzes, which I do hope is like a handbook for the readers. I hope the readers I've got a lot of feedback that it's such a quick read, which is great, but that
Right.
also they have it on hand. So like let's say they or a friend is dating someone older or younger, they like flip to that chapter and they redo those quizzes and kind of see if they can make it work or get some hopeful advice and nuggets from those chapters.
That's a really great thing to have, because I think about all the guys I dated in my 20s, and like a lot of people like get this, I need to get married, like especially when they
Yes.
get 28, 29. And I'm like, if I married the three guys that I dated long term in my 20s, I'd probably be divorced twice now.
That's very true. And that my last chapter addresses that because I wrote my last chapter. So every
I need to read
chapter,
this book just because
yes,
it'll just be reminiscent of all the mistakes that I learned. And now here I am, and I'm older, and I'm like, why didn't I learn from that a long time ago?
yeah, my last chapter is dating a guy who I thought was the one. And I think less because he was the one and more because I was 29 when we first started dating. And I had
True.
that thing in my head, which I really
Mhm.
blame rom-coms for, of it's like, once you hit 27, because remember my best friend's wedding?
Yes, it was one of my favorites. Still
Right.
is.
So Julia Roberts has a pact with her friend that if they're 27 and not married, that they would marry each other. So I think
Yeah.
subconsciously that age, which is close to 30, has always been like, I need to get married by 27, even if
Right.
I'm settling for my friend, which is what Julia Roberts does, even though she's an accomplished food critic in that
And she doesn't
movie.
want, yeah. I
Makes
know,
no
right?
sense. Yeah.
It
It's
makes
such a
no
bad
sense.
message.
The way you put it that way, it's so true. And it's like, and I think a lot of people do settle. And I will say, right now in my age group, which is the later 30s, I'm seeing a lot more of them getting divorced and stuff. I think one
Yeah.
got mad at me because I was like, I joke around about things. So I was like, oh, yeah, that's why I never got married. And he's like, good for you. And I was like, overly sensitive much? Not my fault. Not my fault. It didn't work
No.
out for you.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, that's too funny. And that does happen. I think, people are getting divorced a lot or they're in unhappy marriages.
Yeah.
And then I'm currently engaged, which is crazy. Like this happened just a couple of weeks ago. I
Oh,
live with my
congratulations.
Thank you. I live with my fiance. We've been together for over a year and survived the pandemic so far
I was gonna
together.
say, did you meet prior to COVID?
We met prior, which I almost like wish that we didn't for the sake of being able to. I feel so bad that the dating advice that I can give is
Right.
pre-COVID. And
Yeah.
I have friends who are single and I'm trying my best. And my best friend's single and she's dating and she's like, Gabby, you just don't, it's like it's like not the same thing.
It's so hard. I
Yeah.
agree. I'm single too, so I get it.
But I did meet my boyfriend on Bumble, which I feel like, that we could have met each other, if this was in the pandemic, we would have still met each other the same way. And I do
Right.
think that there are ways to be more efficient on dating apps and to have the right and to attract the right guys instead of just
Mhm.
attracting everyone.
Oh, well, like that's so well, like say I got bored at the in the middle of COVID during the summer. So
Yeah.
I always like joke, like if you see me on Instagram or anything, I'm always like, they're like, could you stop? Like some people like it when I'm posting in the jacuzzi drinking, or they don't. But I was like in the jacuzzi swiping, and I'm like, okay, well, this one might be okay. It still had me in Nashville for some reason because I traveled there
Oh,
from my
nice.
old show. So I'm like looking at them, like, oh, he's hot. I'm like, why is everybody so far away? But long the short of it, then I get to the Boston guys, and they're everything that I've always talked about in all my shows. It's like scrubby,
Hmm.
wearing their shirts, like they're just like taking a selfie and you get like part of their profile. So like what advice would you have for people trying to date on these apps right now? Because or the conversations suck.
Yeah, the conversations suck. Okay, so my advice is you want to have a good profile, and I've actually have helped people like my followers, and I still offer this. If anyone wants to send me as someone who doesn't know them, send me screenshots of their dating app profiles, and I'll give you feedback because I really do think the photos you use, especially the very first one, as well
Yep.
as your bio, are really really helpful in attracting the right person.
Right.
Right before I met my fiance, I did a major change to my bio, and
Oh, you did.
instead of writing for my bio something that I thought was like, would attract a lot of guys or like be super flirty, I changed it to something that was authentically and specific to me, and it
Okay.
ended up actually being something that my fiance like liked and also agreed with, which is kind of how we first started dating.
Connected. Hmm.
So like I really do think that's key. I think like having a short but sweet bio of something that really defines you and like says who you are. And then with your pictures, you never want your first shot to be a shot that's really far away.
Right.
That's a group shot.
Or
That's
with a fish.
a fish. Yes, the fish. Okay, I will say with the fish, and this is the thing is I've noticed there's so many guys holding
Holding
fish.
their fish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the fish thing is like, okay, if fishing is like a huge part of your life, absolutely keep that on there, right?
Okay.
But I have a feeling there's not this amount of fishermen in Los Angeles that like fishing is their life. Like that's just a guess. So
Right.
if you're doing it because it's a cool thing you did once and you think it makes you unique, well, spoiler alert, it doesn't. It makes you hate
Doesn't.
because everyone else is doing it. So I would suggest, but at the same time, like, if my boyfriend's really into my fiance is really into classic cars, so one of his pictures was him with a classic car, like
Okay.
that is authentic to him. So I
Right.
do think that you want to show off little glimpses of your life and who you are and what you do. And I think that will attract the right person. Now, this advice might give you less matches, but that's kind of
But
a
it'll
good.
find you the right one.
Yeah, when I met my fiance on Bumble, I was getting significantly less matches, but he was the right one. And I think that's
Mhm.
keeping your standards high on dating apps is how you'll actually lead to a good relationship.
That's really good advice. And I mean, it's just so hard. And like, and then there's a question now with COVID, do you want to meet up with these people? What if they are carrying the virus?
Right, which is a big thing. And especially in LA, LA currently, we just had a report that 1 in every 3 people has it.
Right.
Which is that
That's
statistic
not good.
is, I even said at Hollywire, I normally have a co-host and I was like, I don't feel comfortable standing next to
No.
someone who's not in my family. I just don't. Cause
Yeah.
I'll do it I do it solo sometimes and I feel more comfortable with that cause I'm not interacting with anyone.
Right.
But that's scary. So I would really, really suggest with the fear of COVID, I think you got to have I think the first date should always be a FaceTime, always.
Yeah,
Like, and I actually wrote an article for Cosmo about this like way back in the day about like some tips of like how to do
I
it that
saw that.
really, yeah. But
I
it's
did.
really, it's
It's
important because if you're not feeling, and I did it, I went on 3 FaceTime dates where I FaceTime with the guys before and then we went on the date and I knew that one of the guys, it just felt off. Like the chemistry felt
it
off.
wasn't
It
there.
felt flat. It was weird. And
Yeah.
I still was like, I still want to go on the date to like see if I am
See if it
proving my theory right or wrong. And
right.
the guy ended up being a total douchebag. So you can
Mhm.
totally tell from FaceTiming if it's worth
It's gonna
pursuing.
be it's like, yeah, a waste of time or
Right.
and then sure you don't waste your time going.
No, you don't waste your time going. And so I do think like I really think that before you meet up with someone that you're dating now on dating apps is
Yeah.
do as many FaceTimes, texting, whatever. This used to be it used to be before COVID that you didn't want to be pen pals with a match, right?
Right.
Because it's like you had the ability to you could match with someone and then meet that next night. And I always encourage that. But now because of
Yeah.
safety, I would discourage that
Yeah.
and I would really try to make sure you get to know the person and then ask those questions like, who do you live with? Like, how much of a risk would you consider to be?
Mm.
And then I think if it really does feel worth it and you guys are connecting and you've connected maybe a week of talking, perhaps
Yeah.
get a test before you guys meet and make sure that you really are that you feel safe meeting because otherwise I don't think it's worth it.
It's not. That's great advice. I mean, you just need a show on dating in general.
And the right guy, by the way, the right guy will do that, right? If it,
Yeah.
and then I think it's such a red flag that if a guy doesn't want to FaceTime, if a guy's like, no, I don't
Mhm.
FaceTime, I don't phone call, I'm not into texting. Why would you waste your time going on a date with this person? Because guess what? When you start, like, people are on their best behavior on the dating app, they're on their best behavior on a first
Yes.
date. If you see red flags at that early stage in dating,
It's
run.
gonna
Like,
get worse.
it's going to get worse. You think suddenly he's going to learn how to be a better texter? No, he's going to
Yeah,
leave you
no.
on red. Like,
Unread. I love it.
I just
It's
can't.
so true.
It
I mean,
is.
you've been through everything. Speaking of Cosmo, you did that article where you went on 30 dates in 3 days. Was it 3 days you did it?
3 days. It was over a long weekend. It was yeah, it was a long weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Uh-huh.
30 dates, 3 days. There's a
I
video
got
of it.
tired thinking of it. Oh
I
my
know
God.
it was crazy. I had just gotten over, I was going through a breakup, which is the breakup from the last chapter of my book.
Uh-huh.
So I was in like uh, a relationship, like a very long-term relationship where I even moved to Brooklyn to be with my ex and
Oh
very
wow.
quickly found out it wasn't right. And even then, I will tell you, there were so many red flags with
And
him
you ignored it.
early into dating, which I ignored because I had that little,
Right.
I like that clock going off, being like, you're 30, settle. Like, and that's so bad.
It's so true.
It's
Hmm.
so crazy. But yeah, so to kind of get back, I was having a hard time getting myself to go on dates after that breakup.
Right.
And I knew I had to, and it had been almost a year since we had broken up. It was like months, after. And so I accepted that challenge as just kind of a way to get myself. I knew that if I had something holding me accountable, like a deadline, that I would do it. And so
Yeah.
that's what I did.
Yeah. And it's really cool if you read her journey. It's on that thing. Like there was some like dates that you'd go on and he was just like a real douche or
Mm.
they and this was even funnier. Like say like just for the hell of it, Henry was your date and he canceled. Does Henry not know that you have 5 other dates and you don't care that he just canceled?
No, he doesn't. Has no idea. And it was funny because people are like, and I love the people who are like the technicalities. They're like, well, actually, she only went on 20 dates because we counted the
Oh God.
cancellations.
Right.
And then also the last date I had went well, but in hindsight, it was probably just because I was like, had been on like so many dates prior that I was just like, this guy's cute and nice. Sure, I'll have a long date with him. So because that date lasted so long, my editor was like, we can count that as 5 dates. So
That is so funny though. But I think like a lot of people, like millennials and everything, would really enjoy reading that venture. Because I mean, you can't do it now, which is a bummer. But
yes, you can. You could do it with
on phone,
FaceTimes. On FaceTimes. And actually,
sorry,
I
I forgot
highly
about that.
no, but I highly recommend that. Like, why don't you do that? Like, if maybe that is what people who are feeling currently right now that they are just, I don't think 30 is like, that's crazy, but
Yeah.
maybe challenge yourself to do a FaceTime date a day or,
Mhm.
on a weekend, try to do 5 in one day because it also is helpful to kind of compare, right? If you're
Right.
seeing 5 people in a row, you're going to see like who stands out, who's worth it. And then you're also going to get better at your dating ability. Cause so after the 30 dates in 3 days, my fiance was like the third person I dated after that. And it just like, I learned how to use the apps more efficiently. I knew how to have a good first date. I also had this rule that, if a date was longer than an hour, that I would only have first dates be an hour, but he like passed that. He was the exception because he was so, we really like hit it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do recommend trying to go on something similar or just challenge yourself to go on these FaceTime dates.
That is so funny. Yeah, your humor though, like on it, like in the video, like diary you kept of it was just really so unique and so
thank
funny.
you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I was losing my mind a little bit. I think by like end of day
When
2,
you're
I
doing
was
your
like,
makeup, like
yeah,
to conceal at 10
yeah,
p.m.
it was just crazy. It was a lot.
I was like, this is a girl I need to hang out with. Like,
Aw.
because it would be so funny, especially once the drinks get going.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I miss that a lot.
Yeah.
I miss being with my girlfriends a lot.
I know. Yeah, I miss everybody. But
It's so tough.
are you gonna I think you should do, I don't know if you have, but you should do an article about dating like in COVID. Have you done that yet for Cosmo?
I haven't yet because I do feel like I don't know how authentic. I do feel like there's so many. I'm a contributing writer to Cosmopolitan, and they
Mhm.
have such an amazing. I'm sure there's so many other writers out there who are actually going on these dates. So I would hate to take that article
Yeah.
from them. I think that they should be writing it because it's more authentic.
But I think that like your advice is great.
Oh
So
yeah, no, I'm always, if anyone needs advice, and also if anyone ever wants to slide into my DMs asking me for advice, or also if you want to take me up on helping you give advice on your dating profiles, that's something that I'm always open to.
that's awesome. That is really good. Now, what do you have coming up for the rest of 2021?
Oh, well, I mean, 2020, rest of it like just started, right?
Started.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I have a couple of projects coming up that I don't really want to announce until they are officially announced, but
okay.
but a lot of stuff going on. Like I'll still be hosting at Hollywire, and that my book is currently being adapted into a movie, which is very, very exciting, but we're in the early stages. We're still in development. So I almost
that's
feel
awesome.
weird announcing that, because I'm like, it's not, I feel like the announcement comes when, the
Everything's in place
and we're going into production, but we're just in development right now, but it's still very exciting.
That is very exciting. You're like the Carrie Bradshaw of real life.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, I can't wait to see what they're gonna do with that. The reboot of this.
Oh my God, I am so excited. I try to like get Candace Bushnell. I'm like, I want to be like, did you read her second book, the one when they're older?
I haven't opened it up yet. And that's no shade to Candace at all. It's just that I haven't been like reading as much. I get into like little spurts of like wanting to read constantly. But I actually went to a panel that she did, and she is just so bubbly and wise, of course. And there's also a really, really great podcast that I was listening to, Origins, where they interview the whole cast and crew with the exception of Kim Cattrall, of how they made Sex in the City. And Candace is just, I mean, she's such a revolutionary. She was so ahead of her time.
Yeah. Oh my God, I missed the show, so I'm so glad. But I like that they're doing it older, because I'm older now, and they had like their 40-year-old friend in it, and I'm like, I would love to play that role.
Yeah, no, I think it's so great, because that is a real thing. And I know in the panel I was with Candace Bushnell, that she was talking about how she had to learn how to date all over again. I believe in her 50s.
Yes,
yeah.
50s. Yeah.
And so I feel like something tells me, I know she was saying at the time, and this was a couple of months ago, that they were adapting Is There Still Sex in the City into a television show.
Yeah.
But my guess is that she would take some of the themes from the book and put them
into this new show.
Yeah,
that's what I was
thinking too. I've heard that big spoil. I mean, I think this is common knowledge now, that Big dies, and that's like, so in the they.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's everywhere. And that's like, yeah, that they were good. And that was the movie, the third Sex in the City. That's how it opened. That Big died. It was supposed to die in the movie. So something tells me that they're going to keep that theme, which I just
got a chill thinking.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, as sad as it is, and something tells me also Christopher Noth is probably like good with that, because I feel like I feel like he like appreciates like who because he said no matter anything that he does ever, he'll never be able to do a role that people talk about as much as they do with Mr. Big.
Mr. Big. Wow, I didn't even know that. breaking
Yeah.
news on Sessions with Sarah today.
Well, that's what I heard, and it makes sense because how else you have to have, if they're gonna do more episodes, you
Right.
have to see Carrie single. I feel like that's what works, you know?
That's what I was trying to figure. I'm like, is she gonna divorce him? That's what I was thinking. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Good inside scoop.
That's what I've heard. I wish I had
It's
the
out
source
there.
to confirm it for you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but that would be interesting to see.
Mhm.
So where can everybody reach out to you, buy your book? I gotta
Sure.
read this book.
Yes, I'll definitely send you a copy. My book's
Awesome.
available wherever books are sold and wherever you listen to books, because I also have an audiobook of it. The audiobook does not have the quizzes because that would be weird.
Yeah,
But
that
I
would
do
be.
feel my book is best digest as a hard copy because I do hope that people who get it keep it and they continue to flip through it as they're dating,
It's
even when
true.
they're in relationships, just to
Mhm.
kind of hold themselves accountable and to check in.
I know.
And yeah, and I'm on Instagram at It's Gabi Conti. Also, I'm on TikTok and Twitter with the same handle.
Okay.
And yeah,
Just reach out and TikTok
reach out.
away.
Yeah, and then you also can catch me on Hollywire on YouTube almost every day with the news. If you're interested into TikTok Gen Z news, I got you
Oh,
covered.
I'm actually interested in it all. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was really great to have you here today. Just hang on
So
tight. But we're gonna end this and we're gonna go have some girl chat after.
love
So
it. This was so
all
fun.
right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Gabby, for doing Sessions with Sarah on Helium
Yay.
Radio, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye.